Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Tonight we have on Wax Mekanix. How you doing, man?
Hey, man, thanks for having me again.
I know.
People are going to start to talk.
I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they talk and I hope they listen to your music because I do.
Well, let's hope so. That's the whole reason I'm here, right?
No. Yeah, I like to talk to you too. And I'm a lonely old man, so I need people to
Well,
talk to me and throw
join the
pennies.
club, dude. Join the club. I'm glad.
So
See you
let's
out there
actually
and see what
talk about that before we get sidetracked or forget, because we will. Your new release.
Yay.
Let's talk about the beginning of it. So it's a split.
It's a split, which is, for old dogs like us back in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, there was no such thing as a split. So, yeah, it's a split with a label mate. So they brought two tunes to the record and I brought three, and it's a really cool thing. So the label mate is called Troll Teeth. They do sort of this cool stoner doom topical stuff, really interesting, heavy, and really good guys. They're from Jersey, and Electric Talon gave me the opportunity to do it.
When you're sending songs overseas, they just want to hear 30 seconds of each song to decide first, and it's gotta be a hit. You have to write a hit song in your 30 seconds, man.
Yeah, those aren't the kind of records that we're making. I got to be honest with you. That even though I love pop music and
no, I agree with you. I've heard your music. There's no hits in it.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Right, mission accomplished. Now that chasing that kind of thing never was my deal, and my version of success doesn't include competing with Taylor Swift or whoever's the flavor of the week. But all that stuff is fine. This notion of this split came along because Electric Talon asked me what I wanted to do next, and I said, well, what would be cool to do? And Stephen Burdick, who's the label head, said, why don't you do a split? And I said, that'd be a great idea. And he said, well, who you want to do it with? And I said, well, who you got? And I had listened to Troll's Teeth's last record, Goes Nowhere, Does Nothing, and I really liked it. And Steven said, what about them? And I said, yes. So it was this disparate styles because I knew I was going to change myself up a little bit. And so that's pretty interesting. So far, so good.
It is good. See, now to really tie in, you guys have to play together now.
Well, eventually, I have to be honest with you. I'm not doing any gigging until this thing is all sorted out. So I'll do busking, and we were chatting about that a bit. So I'm keeping those muscles sort of tuned, and keeping that edge by busking.
I think it's interesting is your music. I do joke about it. I do love it. I've heard you do some nice, guitar and you singing, which is nice. But it's so layered. How are you gonna be able to? How are you gonna approach that live? Are you gonna try to do a different version of it, a garage band version of it, your own stuff, a rock version of it? You gonna try replicating it?
Well, I'll give you the smart ass answer, and then I'll give you the real answer. So the smart ass answer is I'm not gonna try. So the real answer is I see these, and as arty farty as it sounds, this is the way I've always approached it. I see them as two different animals. And some of the artists that I really like that do it kind of the same way. So I'm not inventing anything. I really like artists like Neil Young and Bob Dylan, even though I'm a metalhead at heart. Those guys, if they play a song the same way twice, it's a rarity. And Dylan reinvents his stuff every night on stage, and some people just hate it, but some people love it. And when I would go to a show, sometimes I would be postured to say, I want it to sound like the record. If I go to see Def Leppard, I want it to sound like that. If I go to see Slipknot, I want it to sound like the damn record. But if I go to Dylan, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, show me what you got, change it up. And that's thrilling too. So I
think right now Dylan is not changing it up. I think he's actually just relearning his songs every night.
Yeah, maybe. At this point, I don't know.
At this point,
he's about 80 years old, but that's right. Just one example. And there are other artists that do that, and I find that thrilling. And at this stage in my career, this is frankly, it's more about what I'm interested in than what everybody's expecting. And I'm not in any real position to leverage that in a big way. But my thinking is, and this is the long, serious answer about I'm not going to try, is that I find it really exciting, and the people that I'm going to be playing with find it exciting that we can reinvent them. have to be honest with you. The songs that are sort of mellow that you've heard from me, we're going to retool those, and they're just going to be heavy. So we're feeling we're in this heavy zone right now, and all these songs that were sort of done delicately aren't going to be done so delicately. And I like the way they're kind of elastic, and I really enjoy stretching them and pulling them. That's a lot of fun. We didn't get a chance to do that in Nitro much because our mission statement was really well defined. Drums, bass, guitar, crank it up to 11, go hard and heavy, sweat it out. And that's all we had to do. What I'm doing is a little more layered, I think. So
I didn't touch upon your past with Nitro. You were a race car driver.
Yeah. Well, we had such a huge following. With this little, had this little cult thing going on, which was a lot of fun.
Documented. It's well documented.
No, it's modest, and I know what it is. It was a lot of fun, and so that's one aspect of it. So at this point, being in the studio, making records is one thing, and then playing live's another. I see them as two separate entities. I don't know if anybody else does or not, but they are two. I use two parts of my head when I'm doing it. Playing live's more like a sport. I've been an athlete all my life.
I can enjoy both sides though, but every now and then, like I kind of want to. I'd like to, if I heard you live, your newest single, I'd like to hear that as a single. I'd like to see all the percussion and the effects. Like that song.
Yep.
I don't feel like that should be dissected. I feel like that is a piece that should be as is.
Okay, taken under advisement.
There's something about there's just so much percussion, or add more drums to do more percussion to it, like make it bigger than what it is. Like add some more flavors, like in that style, and get more creative with it. Don't tone it down or make it heavier. Don't just go heavy for heavy's sake. Like take that direction but that single exploit the rhythms of that.
Yeah,
to me, that's the best part of it.
Yeah, the point of that these couple of records that I've done. Well, I call them records. These couple of songs I've done for this split that we're calling Blunt. This tune that you're alluding to is a tune called Head, and it's really tribal and it's really percussive. So, what I wanted to do was I was just kind of following them and it was feeling like it wanted to be like that. I didn't set out on a mission to put the heavy guitars down and, change. It just sort of happened organically, and that sounds like a cliche, but that's really what happened. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do it right now, and we're gearing up for it. And yes, I agree with you. We're trying to find the best way to present it in a live situation where we still have that rhythmic tribal vibe going on, but we're feeling like we need to add some heavy guitars and bass to it, and we'll see what happens. This is exciting. I mean, at this point in my career, I'm surprised that I'm still being inspired to do stuff like this.
No, I think you're great. I think you're probably making the right decision by doing how you do it. I'm just my opinion, and nobody listens to my opinion. Even in this house, nobody listens to my opinion. So
I listen to your opinion.
I'm just telling you how I hear. There's something about that song. I think it's because you were originally a drummer.
Yep. Yeah.
And a guitar player. But and then you could use the example way up to take a Dave Grohl song as an example, and how bouncy they are. And there's something about when he writes those songs, they're very catchy. And whether you like them or not, I'm not even getting to that point. I'm saying to anybody in the audience that it's more about not like a synchronicity. There's a certain syncopated. It's just something of the rhythm that he does. If you really pull back his songs, it's very common. Yeah, and I said with a drummer of Hugh, but there's something about his drumming, how it plays into it. There's something about that, the way he plays. He's even said he strums like he's playing, like he's drumming.
Yep. Yeah, when I was writing that song, it was more of a
too.
I'm not a virtuoso guitar player by any stretch, and I'm not a virtuoso.
But all your songs have that feeling. Though, when I go back and I listen to after hearing that song and realizing that you are a drummer, because I forget, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I go back and I listen to the other album. I'm like, oh yeah, I do hear it. There's a lot of rhythmic, undertones in it. Yeah,
but fundamentally, the style of music that me and my peers are doing it's a rhythmic thing. It's rock and roll, or whatever you want to call it. So who
are your peers?
Well,
I don't even know who I can compare you against, because you really I don't know. That's what's so brilliant about you is you have your own sound. Well, so I'd like to know who you think you sound like.
I really don't know at this point. There's so many influences in there that just in that one song, there's so many influences. everything from Bo Diddley to Robert Johnson to AC/DC to, Kiss and Van Halen and geez, what else is in there? The Rolling Stones and Lou Reed.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name even? I don't even know how to say his name. The other day I heard a song from him. I go, that's what he sounds like? That's who he is?
I really am not, I'm just trying to follow it. As arty farty as it sounds, I'm following it more than I'm leading it. And I know that at my core, I'm this heavy rock kind of guy, and those songs will always come out like that. And when we were doing these few songs in the studio, and I was kind of chatting with you about it when I was doing it, they were coming out to be
always breaking the fourth wall. Everyone always has to break the fourth wall on the show. Come on.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Yes, we talk. Yes, we talk besides when the show's on. Great.
I got 2 friends in the world and you're one of them. Lucky you.
Right.
So I don't know if I don't try to have any peers. I mean, I said that kind of casually, but people that are in the the strata that I am doing heavy rock and it's independent, I don't know. I mean, Mobocracy was pretty predictable and obvious in a certain way. It was sort of echoes of Nitro were in there, and I liked that, and that's the way I was feeling. And the last song on that record was kind of leading into what I wanted to do next. So that last song on the record was that acoustic thing that was called Black, and I hadn't finished having that conversation with my audience, whoever that is. So I just decided to extend it, and it felt right to me. Those songs the songs on Blunt kept on popping up. So it's a continuation of the conversation I was having. That's what it feels like to me. So none of it was really that contrived. It was fun to do. At this point, that's what I'm trying to do, is to satisfy myself. Do I have any peers? I don't know. I'll be surprised if I do. I'll be surprised if I don't. I'm baffled by the whole thing. It's all about following the tunes and doing the music. That's why I'm here, right? This face isn't going to get me anywhere else, is it? So,
it could. I'd probably get a book from you at the library. I'd ask you about the Dewey Decimal System with your tie on.
I'm pretty good with calculus, so I can write a good calculus.
Well, that's why I make the joke, because you're a pretty smart guy. And we'll talk about the soul music thing for a minute, but I just want to talk about the Dewey Decimal System for a minute while we're talking about it.
See, the simple fact that you know what the Dewey Decimal System is speaks volumes about your seasoned status.
When you did Nitro, so what was the timeline from that? I'm just trying to get some dates here.
Yep. I joined Nitro in 1980. We made our first record in 81. We were signed in 82. We finished up our run in probably about 85. And although we hit the studio after 85, I graduated from college at that point, and we didn't get the next big break, and we knew we weren't going to be Metallica. And life happens, you know how that happens.
Right as metal was getting so commercial around 85, 86 is when you quit.
Well, it was because it was getting pretty glammy, and we weren't feeling that. We weren't feeling the whole Poison thing, and even though I like those guys, I like that stuff. It just wasn't our gig. We were more, Motorhead, Metallica, Megadeth sort of stuff. Although we had some pop.
You guys could have been carried on. I could see you guys sitting in the. All right, so that was around that time, and then mostly drum point. I'm sure you probably played some guitar.
Yeah.
What was your evolution between that to get to where you are now?
Well, what we did was from the time I started with Nitro in 80 and up until we sort of stopped, I was one of the primary songwriters. It was mostly me and the guitarist, John Hazel. So a big part of the burden fell onto me, which I was digging it because I was always doing that in any case. And then whenever Nitro stopped, I went out and got a Clark Kent job and knew I wasn't going to be, in Megadeth or in Metallica. So I still monkey around and played in some, pickup bands and bar bands and stuff like that casually. But I got the intolerable real job. So, and I was telling you earlier, I'm an engineer by education, so I can make a living at an education with my education where I couldn't with my music because we weren't going glam and
spoken like an educated man.
Yeah. So in any case, I continued writing. It was just something I was doing for fun. And I just kept writing and found this voice that I had that wasn't tethered to Nitro started to come out. My influences are pretty broad. I'd mentioned the Dylan and the Neil Young stuff, and I'll listen to everything from classical music to punk. So I love the Ramones as much as I loved Mozart, and everything in between. Sex Pistols and, rock of the 70s, classic rock, country music. So I found this voice and I was just writing. I'd continue to write. That was, instead of learning how to play golf, that's what I did. So the songs just continued to stack up for no reason. I wasn't recording them, I wasn't playing them. And then eventually, let's see. Yeah, I did that for, until the early 2000s. And then started doing some busking, and that was fun. And was playing these songs live, busking, which was really weird. So that was trying to be brave and live without a net. And that busking thing,
Wow.
If you've done it before, is really invigorating and can be addicting.
No, I'm a
as well.
coward.
Oh, you can do it.
I've
It's
only
fun.
played out when I was in bands. I played. I didn't play guitar then. I just sang more in the high school, college years. So I hung up
Well,
my.
you've been in front of an audience, so you know what that invigorating.
Very no terrifying to me.
Well, spoken like a true artist, right? Everybody's got a certain amount of stage fright, I think.
Oh, the anxiety involved in that.
Well, that stuff's fun. I didn't have a big desire to, to forge a career, but I was writing these songs and I was playing them live, busking on the street, and it was just fun. It was a hobby, and then I had friends that were still musicians and would invite me to sessions, so I'd be playing on sessions for their recordings, and eventually decided to knock out a few of mine. And the long and the short of it is, probably about 2008, I made a solo record, which was called Tunguska Butterfly, and was trying to get it signed, and that was a really weird time. And then I gave up a little bit. Then I continued to write, and then recorded some more. And let's see, about 2019, I got together with Electric Talon Records, and they said, "Hey, you want to do a record?" And I said, "Sure." And Mobocracy was the result of that.
You knew them. You submitted your stuff. How did that?
Yeah, I knew of the Stone Eye, which is the band that Stephen Burdick is a member of. Stephen Burdick is the head of Electric Talon Records. So I had sent him some of the stuff I was working on and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" He was in Philly, I'm in Philly. So it was more of a howdy do than anything else. And he listened to it and said, "Hey, I got this label, and would you like to make a record and release one?" I said, "Are you serious?" "Sure." So that's where Mobocracy came from. And I had written probably about a dozen or so songs that were from that particular period, that were all sort of interrelated, and they sort of had the same kind of theme. And picked 6 of them and put them on Mobocracy. And there's this long continuation of songwriting, and that's basically what I see myself doing. Is I've always been a songwriter, and I will continue to do that even when people aren't listening. It's just one of those things that always happens. We've always got them in the pipeline. There's always one behind the other. So that's probably where I'm going to end up, is to just continue to write songs. Whether or not I'm releasing records is another story.
But this is still something cool about that. Like, you're writing songs. If people see, oh, he's writing songs, or you're playing over there, they see you doing it. Like, if I have anybody watching me, like on the show, I'm just the only guy talking to himself in a chair. So like, it's so cool if you just do it and nobody's listening. Whereas me, I get put in a home.
Well, it's fun. There, a lot of it is, I was writing them because I couldn't not write them. I know that's hard to, if you've written songs before, you know how they just they're like dogs. They just.
I used to write a lot of lyrics and stuff like that for songs. And recently, as we're talking, a few times I've actually been able to pick up my guitar a little bit now. I'm actually starting to create my own sounds for the first time ever on guitar. I've done it on keyboard, and I've done it and never. Yeah, well, but the point is, I get that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but
let's take a minute though.
Yeah.
What was the name of your solo album again? Let's talk about that for a minute. I think you kind of tried sliding that by me.
The first one that okay. So
yeah, what was that?
Well, let me back up.
Here's the thing. I almost feel like now that as an adult, also I'm an adult, or I'm in my teens, and then I sit down and I'm like, I find out, wait, Dad, you were married before, Mom? Like, I just feel like I wasn't expecting that. It's like I've been sideswiped. Well, tell me about your first marriage. The album.
That particular bit of information will remain for the Smithsonian to dig up. So as far as the solo record goes, I was just I was recording around Philadelphia with a bunch of friends, and then I ended up with a collection of songs, and this was probably 2008, 2009. So it was mostly me just hanging out with friends and cutting some tracks, just to, instead of going out and playing golf or collecting stamps. That's what I did. And so I had a dozen of them or so. And I had a friend who's my sort of music lawyer, right? And I was playing them for him. He goes, "Oh, you should try to release this." And the internet started to pick up speed. And, I said, "Well, let me give this a shot." And I didn't go seeking to get it released anywhere. So I just released it myself and sold more than I thought I would, and got a few reviews on it. You can Google it. The album is called Tunguska Butterfly. And
What the hell does that mean? What's that mean?
Nah, I've got to open up the whole kimono. Tunguska Butterfly. It was the name of a pattern of.
Literally, you named your album that. Like, how's somebody going to ask you what it means? Like, if you didn't want to know what that meant, you wouldn't name something. You'd keep it a secret.
And that's why it did so well, because it was so.
What the hell is it about? It's because you're Philly and you see you're hanging out with some friends as a boys to men. So many unanswered questions here. I mean, but the title, I don't understand it. It's a cool title, but please tell me what it means.
If you Google Tunguska Butterfly, it was a little fascination I had with in the early 1900s. There was an asteroid strike in Siberia, and it blew a bunch of trees down into this butterfly pattern. And this part of Russia was called Tunguska. So it was an explosion of a meteor in Siberia near a town called Tunguska, and it knocked all the trees down in a butterfly pattern. I thought that was brutal and beautiful all at the same time. And that's what the music kind of sounded like to me. So I was making music that was blending all kinds of styles. It was blending rock. It was blending heavy rock. It was blending folk. It was some urban elements into it. And it was brutal. The lyrics were brutal. And it had this almost pop sheen to it. So that's the arty-farty description of why I called it Tunguska Butterfly. So
can people still hear this album? Can we still hear this album?
You can go find it. Yeah, good luck.
That's inviting. You can hear it. Go find it. Good luck.
Yeah. So no, I'm not actively selling it. So the long and the short of it is that that's when I decided that I was, when I was busking and people were asking who I was, I started to tell them my real name, which is Tim Wilson, which you can see there and on the back of the Nitro records. And somebody came up to me one day, and I was kind of
right to me.
See, would you rather have?
I've been calling you Wax for so long now. Tim Wilson actually sounds like
Tim Wilson.
Wilson. Tim Wilson, like the character on a TV show. Like, it doesn't feel like it's your name anymore.
No, I've never heard that before. Right.
Hey,
Wilson.
I know. Hey,
Mr. Wilson. Got that. So it was fun, and I wanted to, do something that was a little bit different, that sort of illustrated the type of musical trip I was on. And the musical trip I was on was three-dimensional and almost a little bit psychedelic and a little bit weird.
It's interesting that between Nitro, there's a little more of a pulling piece. I didn't know that the missing piece there.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'd actually like to hear that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'll get it to you for sure. I mean, I'm not trying to be evasive about it.
No, but why aren't you selling it online to people?
Because I was working on Mobocracy and working on Blunt. It's moving on. I'm always about the horizon. I'm not about what's in the rearview mirror. So it's just the way I operate.
AC/DC just released an album. You can still buy Back in Black.
Yeah, I listen to them all the time.
I'm just saying, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. You could have that one up too.
If we put up every tune that I've written, then there would be such a backlog, So, but at this point, yeah, it's available. I'll make sure you get it. I'm not trying to hide it. It was a pretty good record. It's really interesting. I really like it, and it is a snapshot of my start as this whole trip of Wax Mekanix. So I remember specifically playing those songs on the street, busking them, and somebody asked me who I was, and I was about to tell them my real name, and I said, you know what? This doesn't really feel like that. It feels like it needs to be something a little more adventurous. So that's literally off the top of my fucking head. I came up with the name.
What was the reaction to somebody playing a guitar with that name? A stranger? Were they afraid you're going to just stab them and then keep playing? That's a crazy name.
They're and everybody has a street name, So I thought it would be fun, and it helped to free me up creatively to write different songs too. So when I got into that headspace, it was performance art, and it was really liberating, and it really resonated with me. And I decided that I was going to work with that for a while. So when I would go out busking, that's what I would tell people who I was. And that was really who I was at that point. So I was kind of reinventing myself the same way that Elton John or Freddie Mercury or Elvis or Eminem or Jay-Z or any of those guys, Ringo Starr, Lil Wayne. I doubt if that's on his birth certificate. You know what I mean? So people can be who they
You
want.
play better than him though.
Well,
Like, we didn't have a
bank
conversation.
account. So that was fun. And I found I was just blending all kinds of styles, and it didn't really fit into any particular category. So it felt right. It was a good pair of shoes that fit me well, and they felt nice the very first minute I put it on and I said it. So when I first said it, my head almost resonated when I said it to these three people that were standing in front of me down on 7th Street in Philadelphia, as I'm over there with my guitar case playing these songs from Tunguska Butterfly, which nobody heard, nobody cared about. But then this little crowd shows up, and people start throwing money into my guitar case. So I figured I'm on to something here. So I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it just to be live without a net and to be on that edge and to reconnect with that live performance that I was feeling that I needed. So that's a way to do it. Boy, that's like being naked in front of 100 people doing that. If you've not busked, you need to do it if you're a performer at all. And you find out what sucks and what doesn't real quick. So, and people are not.
I know what sucks in my playing. It's everything. And I busk on my bed. I play in my room by myself.
See, you have to get past that. It's like jumping in the water, man. You just got to get in. You know, it's going to be cold. You know, it's going to be a little uncomfortable.
It's not about getting past the comfort. If I thought it was okay, like, trust me, I know if I was ready to play for other people.
I really wanted to test the songs. That was really it. I wanted to test myself.
I'm sure you were fine. I'm saying, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody's ready to just learn on the fly like that. Trust me.
In this age of everybody's got all kinds of technology at their fingertips, and it all seems like there's this big curtain and there's nothing behind the curtain. So maybe it's old school. I don't know. Maybe it's a get off of my lawn moment, but I wanted to test myself and to really just strip all that stuff away and to go see if the songs were any good. And I found out that most of them were, which surprised the shit out of me. So, and that gave me the bravery to sort of go on. So that first record that I was alluding to, Tunguska Butterfly, was a pretty good record. It gave me the freedom to begin to experiment and to find my voice even more. And that's what I spent the next few years doing, the same sort of thing, just writing and thinking about whether I wanted to do another record and if I wanted to get involved in all that machinery again. And but I really enjoyed the busking part. I kept writing songs and kept busking, and eventually I found this voice that you are hearing now. So I feel like I've arrived at a voice, and that's what's that's why I've benefited from doing those few records.
When you get to play out, are you going to try to do your own thing? Are you going to try latching on to some people when they come by? I'm sure you're not going to tour because you actually have your Clark Kent job, so you really can't afford to take some time off to tour. You could spot tour, a little here and there.
And that's probably what we'll be doing is that. Now, post pandemic is going to be weird. And first of all, it has to be safe. So we're not going to do anything until we're safe. And there can be all kinds of political and philosophical debates about that. But since this is, my decision, I'm going to wait until we all feel safe, meaning the audience feels safe and there aren't these fits and starts, and we're not hearing any more of these things where, oh, well, this guy died because he got infected with COVID and he was out on the tour with Kiss. I just heard about that, which was nuts. Paul Stanley's guitar tech dies of COVID. I don't know the details of that, but that just doesn't sound good. And that doesn't sound safe. Now I know they're out there, and then you hear these things. Well, this guy got COVID, so they got to shut the door down. I don't even want to get involved in any of that. That's just not my gig. So what we're going to do is it's going to be a basic rock setup. And then the guys that I'm playing with, we're all going to be in agreement that it's going to be safe, that the audience is going to be safe, and then we're going to be able to have a good time. And I'm not going to have to worry about it and sleep in my basement for 3 days after a gig and test myself every 20 minutes. And that's really what would have to happen. We've got people in our orbit, everybody does, that are vulnerable. And I'm not going to be responsible for that. And I'd said this earlier, if I'm going to die for something, this ain't it. I'll die for love. I'll die for family. I may even die for country.
Okay. We're going to go with that one.
So, but I'm not dying for this stupid thing. Now, am I overreacting? I don't care. Let the flat earthers come at me. I don't care. Anti-vaxxers come at me. I don't care. At this point, it's my decision, and I'm just going to do it when it's safe and when it's fun. And this is all that it's about. It's about us having a good time collectively. and it'll be glorious and it'll be joyous whenever we do it right. That's going to be 2022 at some point, and I'm gearing up for it. And you're going to know when it's going to happen because you'll get the invite to come.
I'll be there. I'm not that far away from you. It's not even about the non-vax thing. I don't like getting a cold, as I said in the show. Anybody's heard me, so I'm okay with people not being around me to begin with. And my old joke is, it's like, all right, guys, it's my kids, it's September, give dad a hug because it's a cold and flu season's coming up. I'm not gonna hug you guys until spring. I'm not getting sick. You little petri dishes.
Well, I understand that, this collective thing that we have going in concerts is everybody's hankering for it. Boy, am I ever. I really am dying to do it. And I know everybody is, and we're going to slowly slide into it. But boy, oh boy, I just don't want to be, one of those statistics. It's like, somebody I care about ends up dying because of it or gets really sick. I just don't want to be part of that.
I always think would be kind of cool for you to do would be like when Pierce, he did this show. He did a show a while back in a club, just nobody there, but he treated it like it was a live show. It was kind of fun.
We've actually, we're talking about doing that. We're kicking that idea around, which is, and some people have done it, and it's turned out to be pretty good. So right now we're working.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But I think I almost like the band being on a stage again feeds off it, so it changes it a little bit. You know what I mean? And it's a good walkthrough rehearsal, or it's just something.
Well, it has to be. I think just for my own little slice of the world, we've talked about doing it sort of in a rehearsal setup, and that's kind of casual, but usually don't get the best performances. Everybody has to be sort of on their toes and in a stage situation, in a club situation, like you're alluding to. So that's what's taking shape now. And hopefully, we'll be doing something. Either we'll be out live gigging or streaming something relatively soon.
Cool. So any plans for your new, they got two songs out. Are you going to go in and do like an album and then?
Well, the horizon is pretty simple. It's write, record, gig, rinse, and repeat. So we've taken that gig thing away. So now it's write, record, rinse, and repeat. So I'm actually working on two things in parallel. One is, interestingly enough, I was enjoying the split situation so much that I'm going to be doing another one for 2022 with an American band in my neck of the woods called Almost Honest. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is because I want it to be a surprise.
I like surprises.
So it'll be just how it'll be a split. And right now I'm working on 3 tunes for that. In parallel, I'm also working on a full solo album that's, a full blown one. And another interesting thing that the record company—
Are the songs going to be on there for that? Are some of those other songs going to be on the full album?
Or
no, fresh batch?
New songs. No, all these releases, they're going to be new songs. It's not going to be a rehash of stuff. So Mobocracy had 6 tunes on it. Blunt has 3 tunes on it. This next split will have 3 farm fresh tunes on it. And then the solo full album that I'm working on by myself, it's probably got about a dozen songs. And so they're all new. I don't have there's no problem with songs. I got more than enough songs. If I didn't write another one, I'd have 4 or 5 albums in me, I think. So, but it's fun, and that's what I'm doing. I just learned today that the electric Talon's going to be— we were talking about physical product at one point. Mobocracy is going to be released as a deluxe edition that has some extra stuff on it, and that'll be fun. And we're going to be doing a physical release of that sometime in 2022 as well. So,
like vinyl, like that'd be cool on vinyl.
Well, at this point, they haven't committed to vinyl, but there's going to be probably CDs at least, because people are asking for physical product. Vinyl. Now, you probably know this from some of your other guests, is that vinyl, there is such a backlog. Talk about a supply chain issue.
You cannot get it for like 10 years.
Records, you're not— if you order today a vinyl, it's hard to get a delivery unless you're Sony or somebody like that. If you're an independent label, you're not going to get delivery of that vinyl until like 2023. And that's just crazy. That doesn't make sense at that point. So will that change? I don't know. I don't really bother myself with it. So I record the songs, I deliver them, I write them, record them, deliver them, and say, you guys do what you want. So
the money's not there as much for people anyhow, though. I mean, it's more like for people like me who could care less about a CD, because if I already have it digitally on my phone, that's one less thing I'm going to carry. If I'm going to actually have something physical, I'm going to put on my record player. I'm going to look at the sleeve and,
Yeah. Well, what I do is I try to have, I'm old school, just like, some of your listeners and your viewers and you are, is that's an experience that, my son and maybe your children don't really appreciate as much. I want to actually have the album art in my hands. I want to have that experience of listening to it on vinyl. That's my own hang up. So would I like that to happen? Yeah. But boy, to get that, an independent label like Electric Talon to order up some vinyl for Mobocracy, we wouldn't see it until 2024. You know what I mean? So we're going to do a deluxe edition, which we'd always intended on doing. And because the pandemic just screwed things up, the whole economic model of releasing records and gigging and all that stuff, we decided we were going to do it in late 2021 or early 2022. So Talon just told me that we're going to have a deluxe edition out, at least on CD, in 2022. And I just learned of that. So as soon as it happens, you'll get it.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have you back on and talk about it. Is there anything else you want to go over? You want to circle back and say how old I am again one more time before we get off the show or anything, and focus on anything else negative about me?
I'm damn proud of making it this far.
My weak bones or something. You want to make fun of me? Push my my notebook out of my hands and my
Well, there will be a quiz, so you need to make sure your brain is sharp, and which it always is. No, we're all holding up pretty good here. Okay. I really like this normalization of what the current independent or music scene is like. It doesn't matter if you're on a big label or on a small label, or if you're 17 or if you're 58. It's all about what's coming out of the earbuds and the speakers these days, and I really like that. I'm reinvigorated by it. Where other people are like groaning and moaning about how the music business has died, I think it's a free-for-all now. I've got as good a chance as anybody else, as long as my craft is good. Am I writing good songs, and am I delivering them authentically? And is my audience engaged? That's all that I'm concerned about. So all this other stuff goes away. It's pretty simple. I show up with an acoustic guitar and a sheet of paper, and I start from there, and then I go in and record them as best I can, and that's all I have control over. And I'm hoping that people will respond to it. And interestingly enough, I'm shocked as shit that people have, because I thought that, that there are all these other things in play. And maybe your other guests have said that as well.
Nope, you're the only one. Everyone else has confidence. All the other artists have confidence in themselves, but it's okay, Debbie Downer.
No, I've got all kinds of confidence in myself. My ego's bigger than anybody's in the room.
Kidding with you. No, it's a struggle, and it's different. And I think a lot of the artists actually have broken free from the banks. I mean, record companies.
Yeah,
that shackled them. Yeah. So, but I think the new model has actually been good for a lot of bands that had bigger labels that got shafted or put in the shelf. All of them have horror stories, and most of them are making more money now. I've heard it many times than they were back in the day, by just doing their own releases and playing club dates.
Yep,
they're making more money.
This has never been an economic decision for me. This is really a great place to be, frankly. And now I'm going to show you Mr. Sweetness and Light. This has been nothing but positive for me. I am not beholden to anybody. I mean, I have to deliver a product to the record company, but I can do what I want, and nobody's in my ear telling me what to do and how to do it. I am not living and dying off of streaming dollars. Now, I feel for those peers that I have that's a hard row to hoe. So I'm in a great place. I'm making the records that I want to make the way I want to make them, and I'm surprised that people are responding to it the way they are. And I'm just trying to make good records and see what happens. That's really it. So far, so good.
Well, that's a perfect note to end it on. This has been great, man. I want to thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Make sure that you keep you and yours safe, and let me know if you have any suggestions for how I can be more sweetness and light.
Perfect.